So it does have an option to allow screen readers.
Screen reader, enable.
But I don't have a screen reader,
Launch.
so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, no, it's in. It's there.
Oh, it does. Sounds great.
Ugh.
Tilde.
Hold on, here it is.
LOLLOLLOLLOLLOLLOME.
Yeah. So I guess it
anyway,
works. I guess it works.
Yeah, it does.
It functions.
But no, I appreciate. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stop it.
Coming up in this episode, death and taxes. Stop filing bug reports. No, like that. And your emails. Hello and welcome to Linux User Space Season 5. We made it.
We made it.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Leo. Same as always. But yeah, we came all the way. But it's like we never left.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little rusty getting back into it, but we're here.
And we're here to tell you that you need to throw away your YubiKeys. They're dead.
Yeah, smash that thing with a hammer and just get rid of it.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But there was a news report that all YubiKeys before, what was it, May 6th are vulnerable. Vulnerable. They can steal everything.
Well, there's a catch though, Leo. It's not
an $11,000 Tom Cruise kind of catch.
It's very much a scene out of Mission Impossible in order to be able to, get all of the things off of it, but
all right.
It isn't good. Just the same.
Dun, 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 dun. We got a copyright strike. Dun, 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 dun. That easy. It's that easy, folks.
Yeah, probably.
This is really is Mission Impossible style stuff. So I mean, you person listening likely don't have to worry about this at all. Though it might not be a bad idea to go out to Yubico and get yourself another couple of keys. You just don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're under attack by a nation state, right? Because
if you're working for the DoD or something, maybe you want to think about it. I don't know, but
right?
Yeah,
but then the DoD would probably buy them for you.
I would think so. Yeah.
You don't. It's not really a you thing because this is a super targeted type attack, right? They need to already know which types of logins that you have. Here, buckle in because this is what you got to do. You need to know which logins the victim already has, right? Then separately, you have to steal those logins, username and password. Then you also need to steal the physical YubiKey itself for at least a short time so that you can use it to create lots of authentication requests and then listen to the output, right? Recording those responses and then kind of do a little bit of reverse engineering, which is where the $11,000 of equipment comes in. And then you have to stealthily replace the YubiKey back onto the keyring of the person that you stole it from. And then you can act as the victim. You can log in as the victim. You can have this cloned, essentially, YubiKey and then use that second factor to log in.
None of that is easy, especially when you lay it all out like that. So I guess ultimately, this has not lost my faith in YubiKey, using one for work.
Right.
I generally don't have it out of my possession, at all. It's on my keyring. If I lost that, I lost all my keys as well.
Yeah, so, we're in bigger trouble than
exactly.
Usernames and passwords.
And so,
my truck.
Yeah, right. Or my house. I can't get back into that either, right?
Man.
Yeah, so I'm in a world of hurt if I've lost that for any length of time. Yeah. So I don't feel so bad. But just the same, Leo's right. Probably having another one, even if you only have another one, is a good plan to have a backup anyway. So might as well make that new one the primary, and then you can put the other one in the safe, and then you definitely don't have to worry about somebody stealing it.
Right. So yeah, that's an easy way to protect yourself against this if you really, really, really have that amount of paranoia going on. Or I don't know, maybe nation states really are after you, in which case go buy a new one. Because as far as I understand, you can't fix this with an update, right?
No.
The older ones that were minted prior to May 6th all have this flaw, and you cannot update them out. They're just flawed forever. The only real fix is to get a new one and then migrate everything over to the new key.
Yeah, so I think the CVE on this was like really low, though, because obviously it needs physical access.
Because of the amount of effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, this is just not anything that I think regular people have to worry about. But it does sting a little bit, right? Because I've got two.
Mm-hmm.
And I say a few episodes ago. I don't know which episode it was because that was a while ago. But it was in the later half of season 4. We were talking about passkeys.
We totally
and
did,
storing your passkeys in Bitwardens. You can store them on Yubikey. I think they've upped that number to like 100 or 200 passkeys that you could store. Right. And onto some of these newer keys. And so, I mean, I'm all in on Yubikeys, but both of my keys are from before this date because I didn't buy them in the past 5 months. So it stings a little bit in that I know I'm going to be walking around with a Yubikey with a flaw on it. And while I know there's no reasonable expectation that anybody's going to be able to take advantage of that, even if they were to steal my Yubikey, right?
Yeah.
It still stings a little bit that to be done with this, to move on from this and not have to think about this ever again, I would need to buy 2 more, right? One as a primary, one as a backup, as you say, you leave it in the safe and just kind of never touch it until you actually have to, oh my God, I lost my key, or oh my God, the key died for some reason, I ran over it 4 times.
Well, I mean, I guess it goes to show, though, that like anything, if you have it long enough, will eventually have a flaw.
Right.
I mean, it's just inevitable.
But I like to bring this up all the time, especially in security conversations, right? Like, if you have a copy of your Bitwarden right now, right? Like, you take that copy and you put it in a safe somewhere, and it is just a little database, right? If someone were able to take a copy of that, would they be able to log into it? No, absolutely not, especially not today. But will they be able to log into it in 8 years?
Maybe.
Almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because stuff continues to move on. Those ciphers are updated. They are strengthened over and over and over again. Even Bitwarden reminds you from time to time, hey, that cipher is old. You need to get away from it. Go ahead and rekey everything using the new cipher, right? I've seen that come up a couple of different times, and it's a good thing to do. Even if you don't know what you're doing, you need to click, update everything. Make sure everything is as secure as it possibly can be. But if there are old versions of that database that are stolen or accidentally left somewhere and someone finds it and runs it through some of the automated software that you can find even on Kali Linux and stuff like that, I mean, in 8 years they're going to be able to get into it. So if you're really worried about it, right, like password rotation still is a good thing to do because you just never know, right? But to your point, Dan, everything is vulnerable eventually. Yep. I've had these Yubikeys that I'm using now for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good time. That's a good run.
Right? Like, and I paid, and I got buy one, get one free.
Right.
So
yeah, even better.
I think when I see the next sale on Yubikeys, I'm going to buy the USB-C one because I have so much USB-C in my life now.
That's the way.
With the NFC tap thing so I can use it on my phone and just upgrade.
Yeah.
Right?
You just got to keep the feet moving, right?
Yeah. And all in all, I think it'll cost me $50 one more time.
Yeah, so that's not so bad.
Yep. Inevitably, this will happen again, and in 5 more years, I'll buy some new ones.
I mean, we're coming up on November, so, I mean, usually those Black Friday things, that's the place.
I think that's actually when I bought it. So, yeah, on the anniversary of when I bought it the first time, I'll just buy them again.
So cool. If you love looking at our face, you can do that right on YouTube. And maybe you are watching us on YouTube. We're also on Tilvids, which is a PeerTube instance, and they do edutainment. So you can catch all the history segments over on Tilvids.
Stay tuned to the rest of the show, though, because we've got a little bit to say about that. Someone wrote in.
We do. We have some thoughts on that.
Right, asking about our proliferation and thoughts. No action yet, but thoughts.
We do have some thoughts. But always, if you really love us, you can toss up a buck or two in our direction over on Patreon.
Which would help with those thoughts.
They would. So, always, you can find a redirect, linuxuserspace.show/YouTube, Tilvids, or Patreon. They'll all get you there.
Play the Lust game, right? Lust.sh/whatever you think we may or may not have. And if you get there, you get there. If you don't, at least you're on the Lust website.
Yeah, I mean, spin the wheel, you'll end up someplace.
Is it Ptyxis? Ptyxis.
Ptyxis?
Ptyxis. No, however you say it. It's the way in which a leaf is sometimes folded in the bud. And that is a terminal application for Linux.
That makes perfect sense. I love it.
If you look at the little icon, though, there are leaves on it. So tied in?
Yeah. I don't know. So I think the way you say this, and it's funny that I'm the one that's, announcing this, is Ptyxis. And it does
not
start...
taxes.
Not taxes, although that's very fun to say. And it does start with a P, which is silent. So that makes it very confusing.
Just like pterodactyl.
That bird thing.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so this was Christian Hergert's baby, and it was called Gnome Prompt.
Right.
And after a little, I don't even want to say argument or tussle or anything like that, after a conversation with a company that had another project called Prompt, Christian decided to rename it to Ptyxis.
I mean, that's very unique, so he's got one on that.
Right. Dan, and you were thinking, right, like putty and kitty and alacrity and all that, like the TY.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just makes that's how my brain works. So like,
but it makes sense, right? Because like PTY,
PTY,
right, is the type of TTY or type of prompt you get whenever you open up one of these ones in software, right? PTY. Right. So
it helps with my spelling.
Every time I think about it, you're right, actually. That's how I'm going to remember, because I can never remember if the pi comes first, and I think that's because I mispronounce it. At the beginning, it was not deliberate. Now it's just deliberate because I refuse to say it properly.
It's funsies.
But, right, so when I'm typing it, I can remember, like TTY, PTY, and, okay, all right. So, but I don't think you'll ever hear me say it properly ever, just because it's... Never in my life.
Texas?
Have I seen that word? Yeah. Before Dan and I decided to go the Aurora, Bluefin, fun, atomic, whatever route. And then it turns out this is going to be the terminal forever and for good in GNOME in Fedora 41, right?
Is it though? Well, I mean, it is for GNOME 41. They're making a switch. There's definitely a drive to do that. But is it going to be the terminal forever? Because, I mean, I feel like we've been through a few to get here. I mean...
Remember GNOME Console?
But like, terminal was a thing, right? GNOME Terminal?
Right. GNOME Terminal was a thing for a very long time.
Yeah,
right?
GTK 3 thing. So then we decided that we had to move on to GTK 4. Fair enough. And there's been a whole host of them that have materialized throughout the world.
GNOME Console was my favorite because it changed color based on context.
It did. Yep. It's actually not terrible. But it was not feature complete. And
that was everybody's biggest complaint about it too, was that it's missing this feature, that GNOME Terminal could do. Why would I want to use a thing that is less, that has less features?
Yeah, we went backwards in functionality, and that didn't set well, and that's understandable.
Right.
And nobody wanted to take the time to write all the stuff to go into that to get it all backward compatible.
Yeah. Then so that prompted
then
Christian to create Prompt.
Right.
And then we renamed that to
Ptyxis.
Ptyxis. Right. So my thing is, right, so Christian wrote about why he changed the name of prompt to Ptyxis. And that's the freebie. I said it right once. But it was to avoid confusion with other
unique.
projects named prompt. My thing is why? Why would you need to do that when Gnome Music exists? And there's an Apple Music. I'm sure Windows has a Windows Music. I'm sure that exists. And like Gnome does this a lot, don't they? Like they have
They do, and then they come back to it eventually.
Right, super basic, simple, rememberable names, as opposed to Ptyxis, which, I mean, I think the real thing is, like, if you really don't know how to spell it, right? Like, if I look at the YouTube AI generated transcription for this, how do you think Ptyxis is gonna actually be spelled? I said it properly.
That is a good question.
For that reason. What does it say down there? I don't know what it says right now because we haven't uploaded this video, but I'm pointing down to it right now. I say Ptyxis, Ptyxis, Ptyxis. How do you think, what does that look like right now? And I bet you anything, it's not spelled Ptyxis.
Oh, no.
So when you have to go that extra step, when you say, oh yeah, just open up Ptyxis. I mean, I know that you can just say terminal and type in terminal, and there's the Gnome thing where you can just make it be terminal or whatever. Trust me, Bluefin definitely did that.
Well, they even changed the icon so it matches better too.
Right.
At least in Fedora.
When you gotta spell it right, I think having a name like that can hurt a bit. No one has any trouble spelling prompt, and maybe there was some really, really good reasoning to move from prompt to Ptyxis outside of, it could just be confused with other things. But man,
so here's the thing. It does have some features that bring it back to where we want to be, I think.
Here's the good stuff.
It works nicely with the container stuff. It works nicely with the distro box and the toolbox and all of those things. And you can set up profiles for various different things, which is, that's kind of what you expect from your terminal emulator, right?
Right.
But it does them very well. It actually looks pretty good. It has, different themes and stuff that you can run through and make it look halfway decent and stuff like that. So I think it actually does complete the whole GTK4 terminal emulator dilemma that I wouldn't say it's been existing, but I mean, GNOME 40 was the first GTK4 port, if you will, for most of GNOME things.
Right.
And then some of them did languish a little bit behind, so that's been out for a while. I mean, and so now we're finally catching up with the terminal emulator, which feels like it would have been one of the first things because it's, small-ish type of application. But it was not, so here we are.
And so it feels to me that that Ptyxis is a GNOME terminal for GNOME developers.
Correct.
That's perfectly fine because it turns out that I don't normally care.
Yeah,
I just open a terminal and run my commands, right? So and using taxis or console or whatever, it actually does not matter to me in any way whatsoever because I can still run my commands and whatever. It works, right? I can SSH into stuff. But that also means that I don't actually take advantage of a lot of the where Ptyxis actually excels.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to force me to learn a little bit more about DistroBox and these, just messing around with containers and things. Does it have like Podman integration and stuff?
Yeah, I think Docker and Podman are things that it works with as well. I don't know all of those features. I'll be honest with you. I don't know all of those features. I do use the profiles though, because I use the profiles in other terminal emulators too, because I have different shells installed. So sometimes I want to open up a Zish one, or maybe I want a fish one, or sometimes I just want good old bash because I'm doing something right down and dirty, want to be bash. So I usually, that's the very least is I set those up. And so I like to set those up with different colors so that I know I'm in a bash shell now, or I'm in a fish shell here. And so that's nice. That's definitely one of the things I absolutely
You
have.
just don't echo shell. Come on, Dan.
That's not great. And you can obviously put it in your prompt too. That's the other thing. You can echo that out into your prompt, and so that you know what shell you're into. But I don't know. I think the color thing helps my brain, so that's where I go.
That's actually a good point. I do like to use fish quite a bit, but I do have to live in Bash.
Yeah.
And I think that may be a good way for me to have both.
Yep.
And not wish I was in the other or have to open up a whole nother terminal.
Yeah.
And that's usually what I do, right? Like, I mean, if I'm going to live in the terminal for a little bit, then I full screen the thing. And, worst case, I have two sitting side by side.
Yep.
Taking up the full screen. So, that might be a good way to do it, because it looked like Ptyxis had this overview thing, like how Gnome does. When you flick up on the trackpad, you see all the stuff that's going on.
That's another thing where it really shines, right? Because it has all the keyboard shortcuts and stuff, so you can do those things, and then you can have the overview of all of your terminals, and that's not that's different than your windows, because they could be tabs inside one terminal window.
Right. I don't dislike that at all.
Right.
That's actually some of my favorite stuff that I've seen that Ptyxis can do. So, I mean, it's certainly a continuation of where I think GNOME console was trying to go in the first place. And you can kind of actually see it, right, in when you bring down that preferences menu, it's the same thing. It's got a couple of things added from where console came from, but I'm pretty sure that's spiritual successor stuff going on right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that a lot. I hope that Ptyxis will see that the color coding, right? Like when I SSH into something, it changes a different color. If I'm in the root prompt for any reason, it changes color. Yes, I know that it's got the little number symbol down there, the octothorpe down there to remind me that I'm in no mode.
Well, even if you've entered in you've done a sudo command, that obviously remains in your session for a while until it times out. Like, console actually stays red when you've done sudo for a little while until it times out.
Right.
So you know, I don't walk away from this until I, exit.
Yeah, until it's not scary color anymore. I like that, man. I love anything that, without taking up screen real estate, indicates to me what's going on in the background. That gives me hints about what's happening. So, man, if speaking of feature request, that's it, man. Bring the color stuff back. Obviously, put a toggle in there for the people that obviously hate it. But for me, man, I'll turn that toggle on all day. I love that kind of stuff.
So you and I are both, on the immutable train here as of late.
Yeah, we are.
Still even.
Yeah.
It's still there. And so I'm on Aurora, which is the KDE Plasma Kinoite version of, in Universal Blue.
Right.
And the odd thing here is Ptyxis is the default terminal there.
Right.
And so it stands out a little bit because it is not a cute application. It's not terrible.
And it's not Qt either.
No. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world to me. I can get by just fine with anything, but it does not look like the other applications I have. So that's a little unfortunate.
Right. And so I do the end. I don't fix it, but I do the end run around because I'm just like you. I run Aurora, the Kinoite lineage, right? And every time you type in console or terminal, somehow Ptyxis pops up. So I type in console in Ptyxis, launch console, and then pin that down to the bottom. So whenever I need it, I click it. And I mean, I can fix that. You can fix that. There's actually a fix for that. But I think it requires like extra layers and stuff. So I don't want to fix that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make my image bigger. So I link it and use it, and it's fine. But yeah, it just looks weird in a
obviously I have them both installed, right? So it's just fine.
I'm not worried about it. It's not anything that's going to make me stop running Aurora for any reason whatsoever, because it's slight inconvenience at worst.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it looks like Ptyxis, and I mean that may not just be just Ptyxis. It might be more a GTK4 wider thing, but we're missing some translations, which means
translations are the biggie thing.
Yeah, and screen readers for a long time were not working, but I did test it right before we started, and it looked like Orca. I couldn't get Orca to shut up, but
you could not.
No, but Orca did read everything on the screen, so there may still be bugs with it, but it is enabled. It is good. But
it's possible, yeah.
Right, and I think I'm on. I don't know if I'm on latest. I'd have to check on Bluefin, but I'm sure I'm on Gnome 40, so I'm. Probably, I'm newish.
You're getting most of the updates, yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
So it does do a few color coding thingies, but it's not quite the same as console as far as the behavior. So
yeah, I want that. Give me that.
You want all of it back? I mean,
yes,
nothing.
I do.
Like being greedy, but that's okay.
Listen. It's a wish list kind of greedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
I would love it. It would be fine if it doesn't, but I would love it if, if that kind of greedy. Yeah,
there you go.
I will be that for life.
All right, you can catch all the great topics as they unfold on our Lemmy subreddit or our news channel on Discord. You can catch all those Linux user space, .show/Lemmys, Reddit, Discord, and we even have Mastodon, Telegram, Matrix. And then we stream live on Twitch, opposite weeks of when we release the show.
That's right.
And then we have Twitter. Or X, or whatever we're calling that this week.
It's still Twitter. It will always be Twitter.
But if you want the OG Twitter, here's where you got to go. The brand new space. The OG Twitter replacement is Blue Sky. And we're there too. We are everywhere.
Yep. And I guess we've gone long enough. We also post out the shorts stuff that we have on YouTube, right? That also does indeed go to the old TikTok. And what's that other one? Instagram Reels.
Yeah, the TikTok and the Instagrams.
That's right. And it turns out that when you have an Instagram, you also basically have a Threads too. So have that. Yeah. We have that too. Now, let's see how long it takes for me to go absolutely insane trying to post stuff in these places. I think that's why people pay like $10 a month to these services that just automatically do it for you. But some places do hashtags, some places only let you do one, and some places let you do hashtag spam, and then some places don't do hashtags at all. And it's like, what? I don't.
Yeah. So
insanity incoming.
And then you have character limitations in some of them too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You can't even get that straight within the Mastodon sphere, right? Is it 512? Is it 1024? Is it 2040? I don't know. How big?
Everybody's different.
It's an entire blog out there. So there's a good chance that you can type in linuxuserspace.show/ or lus.sh/ the thing, and you can find it. Now, here's the question. Dan, will Threads, Instagram, was that other one, TikTok, all those be available by the time this episode comes out? I don't know. Type it in. Find out.
Maybe. I'll try.
That's a challenge to you. Go find out if Dan is fast and type in lust.sh/ let's just say TikTok and find out. So I got a problem. I'm gonna submit the ticket. I'm gonna file the bug report, and it's gonna say it's broken. Job done. Cool.
I'll read that email, and I will hit delete. Because none of that. To the trash. We're not doing that. No, that's wrong.
Straight to the trash.
Straight to the can. So I'm gonna step up on the social soapbox here for a minute.
I love these so much.
And you might see a blog post out of this eventually, but for now, how to ask for help.
Dan and I have both been in the trenches for a while. So we've seen the absolute worst of the worst help requests that you could, like the 2-word help requests. I've had requests that are help, please.
Yeah. Or
I appreciate that you put please in there, but please didn't help.
Please fix. Sometimes please fix now. Depends.
Oh God, there, right? Yeah. Please fix now, and then the email goes red, and then we know it's an urgent.
Yeah. So some of this is not necessarily pointed at a Linux and open source type of project, but it holds true there as well. So I think these are just good advices to follow, no matter where you're reporting your problem. So I'm going to link to an article by Simon Tatham that details much of what I think is good ways to write bugs effectively. But that's really long, and so I think I can step it, with a few do's and don'ts for the folks that don't read everything.
Okay.
I will say in Lubuntu we have a wiki page dedicated to bug reporting, and that's also kind of lengthy, so I'll link to that as well, just so you know where I'm coming from. And many other projects obviously have their own thing too, so read that if you may. So first one, do provide as much detail as possible. I mean, even if you think something is unimportant, you probably want to get it in there because it might help who's ever on the other end.
Right. So this is like facts of the matter, right?
Correct.
I clicked this.
Yep.
This happened. I saw this. This message came up. It said this, right? Like,
yeah,
facts, any fact that you saw on the screen that you experienced.
Ultimately, I think you want to be able to give enough information so that someone can recreate your problem and have the context behind how to recreate. And that kind of goes into my next one here too.
Right.
So do give the steps to reproduce your issue. See the first one. Being able to reproduce the problem means someone will be able to work on it while you're not around, because you're probably not going to be there, for the hours that it takes to troubleshoot and figure that out. I mean, at least I hope you don't have to be. Let's put it that way. That's not
right.
Nice.
There are those weird squirrely bugs that there's going to be an email chain between you and somebody trying to make this happen again. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, these bugs are pretty reproducible. So if you give those facts, here's what I was doing, here's what I was clicking, here's what was running, then somebody can try to reproduce that situation as best they possibly can, and there's a really good chance that they're going to run into the same exact thing that you ran into. And when they can do that, when they can reproduce your problem, they don't have to ask you for logs. Yeah. They get their own.
Exactly.
And they can parse what that is, figure out what that is, do all of the ninja stuff they have to do to figure out what the heck is actually going wrong.
Exactly. It keeps you out of the gobbledygook. You don't have to worry about it. It can just get taken care of in the background. And then you can come back. They can say, oh, your thing's fixed. Here you go. And you'd be like, yay. And so that's pretty great.
Yeah.
Being able to do that.
You're going to question, is this email too long? Is this bug report too long? But I think the person on the receiving end of that can get rid of the trash they don't need, instead of have to say, well, could you give me more information? If you gave all the information you could possibly give, then there's a good chance you're just fine.
So my final do here is, well, it's not final, but the last one I have listed is do some research on your own. I'm not saying RTFM, but yeah, maybe RTFM. Seriously, though, if you can demonstrate that you've attempted to learn something and find a solution on your own and learn more about whatever the thing is, it can go a lot further into saying you're vested into finding a solution, and it helps the person that's helping you know that you really want to get to the bottom of it, and you did attempt to find something, but you were unsuccessful. That's fair. Like, I don't think everybody has to know everything about everything. That's just not reasonable. But being able to look up, see, oh, there's a bug report already. I don't need to report another one. I could maybe just pile onto this one.
That is key right there.
Yep.
Pile on to an existing bug report.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that you can do is, because otherwise, but I think a lot of these trackers allow you to merge those things, right?
They do.
So it's not I wouldn't. Would it be a cardinal sin to open up
it's
the
not
same
a cardinal
bug?
sin. No, I would say it's not a cardinal sin. You should open something if you have a problem, even if you haven't found the other one. But if you do a little bit of research and you find another one, it's much better to pile onto that, because then that adds a little heat to it, and maybe your thing can get solved faster with more information from another source.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, it makes it look like you're trying to solve the thing, and they're trying to solve the thing, and everybody's trying to get there. And ultimately, it could turn into, well, that's how it's supposed to work. And, that was a feature, not a bug. And potentially. I mean,
okay.
And so then you can ask for a feature request so that it doesn't do that, I suppose. But
there we go.
At least you're going down the right path. And so that's kind of helpful. So finally, I'm gonna bring up some don'ts. Don't give up.
The cardinal sins. Here they come.
Don't do this. Don't give up. Don't, at least not easily. If you don't give up, the person on the other end probably isn't going to give up either. That, again, makes it look like you're interested in getting it solved. And obviously, though, if the thing is, dragging out and you need to move on, you need to move on. But I don't think a couple of chat messages or a couple of, exchanges on a forum post are enough they're not sufficient to say that you need to, totally flip it upside down and move on. I saw this recently. I think it was on Reddit, which isn't the greatest place, but sometimes people provide support there. Just saying. There was like a post, my thing, it's terrible. I can't deal with this. And then somebody said, well, try this, try that. And they're like, well, I can't be bothered. I'm just moving on to Windows. Okay, great.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot, but I mean, you gave it 2 milliseconds. I mean, that's not enough time. Nobody can solve anything in that, That's just not fair and reasonable. So,
even if they did fix it, I mean, would you even have time to have upgraded and tried the new version that may or may not have the fix? Yeah,
or maybe you just needed to toggle a switch or something, and there it was.
True.
I mean, it's so simple sometimes that you gave up too soon. Don't do that. Don't give up. We won't give up on you. Another one. Don't get upset. I mean, I know you can get frustrated, but that goes 2 ways. If you come in hot, expect the same response coming back at you. I mean, it's how humans work. Don't do that. Sometimes stuff doesn't work, and I get it. You're frustrated, but it's not beneficial. You never solve a problem by just yelling back and forth. Don't report issues about end of life or out of support stuff. Just don't do that. Nobody wants to.
How do you know? I think so. This one is tough, right?
Well, you do kind of have to pay attention to announcements and stuff and whatnot, and so this is
I'm
where
having flashbacks to Gen 2 here.
Yeah, this is where knowing what version you're running is going back up to doing a little bit of research, right?
Okay, I see.
So this is knowing what version you're on, knowing what version's out, and knowing potentially where your fix is already in play, if that's possible. But ultimately, if your thing is end of life or out of support, and someone tells you that, though, I mean, if they come back and say, well, that thing is, we've moved on, we've got this other thing now, you should probably try that. And then they say, well, I really want the old one. No, don't do that. People don't want to waste time on things that they've moved past already. It's not efficient. And sometimes the fix can be very complicated, and it was like a lot of refactoring that took place behind the scenes in order to bring the new feature online, that you can't backport that, and it's just not possible. So don't ask for out of date stuff to be fixed. That's just not
Gnome console.
Yeah, even if it's not that. I mean, I
need my colors, man.
I mean, why does 12.04 Ubuntu not work for me? Can't you
wait
add
a minute? Isn't 12.04 still alive?
Okay,
right?
Maybe 10.04.
There we go.
I don't know. Let's go back
that's
further.
the one.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you go way back.
Yeah.
You get the idea.
There's a death date for everything, and if it's dead, you can't really resurrect. At least the main group working on it can't resurrect it. Somebody else might want to resurrect it. That might be something that they're into. But yeah. Most people that have left it behind have left it behind.
Yeah, one thing that I was taught a long time ago, and I was in packaging for Debian stuff. I mean, it holds true pretty much everywhere. Versions go up, not down. They don't go down.
Yeah, true. Well, maybe one day we'll see another Debian 1, but
probably not.
Nah, probably not.
So finally, one last do report your issue. We talked about this a little bit. sure, testing is probably, should probably pick up your issue, but sometimes that isn't perfect and it can get slipped through. So if you do find a problem, make sure to report, because everyone uses things differently, and it's entirely possible that nobody's noticed your problem. It could be unique, and it is very, very difficult to fix the problems that people don't know about.
There's one thing that's absolutely true, is that you write a piece of software and someone's going to use it in a way that you didn't intend.
Yeah, I guarantee.
And so if that's a use case that they want to eventually support, then you're going to need to help them figure out how to do what it is that you're trying to do that they never even envisioned. So yeah, it's going to take some work. It's going to take some time. But if you care enough about the software to even open up the website, to even think about writing a bug report, then I think you're probably on the side of wanting to help and wanting to do all this stuff. So I think most of the stuff, I don't think usually has to be said. But I'm glad, Dan, you did. Because it's good advice, man. It's really good advice, and it's good to be invested in this stuff. Because we're on the side of, I guess, just like free and open source software, right? And that requires a whole lot more tender love and care than bigger projects than this. But I will say, that's what I think our user forum is for. Like,
yeah, that's a good place.
Yeah, if you're ever unsure about any of this stuff, if you're, or even if you have a question about something that it doesn't rise to the level of bug report, that's a good place to go post it.
And that's why chat things exist, like Matrix. I mean, a lot of support places are in Matrix or Discord or Telegram even. I mean, there's a lot of different places, and that's why those things exist. So you can have a little dialogue before you actually do go enter a bug report.
Right.
And then, you can make sure you got all of the info that you need lined up so that you can submit a bug report.
Yeah, you can definitely look at a lot of the chat. I mean, we're certainly not primarily in any way, but I think there are a lot of people in the places that we hang out, all of the Linux user space stuff, that is just, they're really helpful people. I think Dan and I too, when we find the time, I mean, we try to be really helpful people. So it's just a good place to go and talk about these kinds of things and figure out if you even need to file a bug report at all. Because as Dan was saying, it might just be a toggle.
It could be something simple, yeah.
So yeah, the user forum over at lemmy.linuxuserspace.show.
That's a good place.
Gets a whole lot more traction than I thought.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a little bit more of my time moving forward. But yeah, man, it's a good place to post weird questions.
Anyway, you can catch all the great links at linuxuserspace.show. And if you want to email us, which we've got some of those that we're going to review right now, you can email us at contact@linuxuserspace.show.
And don't forget, linuxuserspace.show, there's that contact button. You click on the contact button. You don't even have to open up your Gmail.
Nope.
You can just write us a message right there and it comes straight to our inbox. So do that. And it seems to me the emails always end up in the show. Comments anywhere else sometimes end up in the show.
That's true.
If you want to hear us talk about it, send an email. All right. So Scott J emailed us, and this was later in season 4. I was talking about wanting to buy a mini PC, and there has been movement on both the people sending me info and what I have done. So let's dive in. So Scott wrote about B-Link. Get the 35-watt H model AMD Ryzen 7, not the U model. And this is the U is the Ultrabook stuff, and the H. I don't know what the H stands for. Maybe like heavy loads.
High power. I don't know.
I don't know.
Coming in hot.
Yeah. But he says, hey guys, first, don't cheap out, but do buy on sale. I love the two mostly silent B-Links with Ryzen 7 APUs I bought more than a year ago, one for desktop replacement and the other to run TV and downloading. In these units, there's room inside for a SATA SSD. I have a 2 terabyte SATA SSD in both B-Links. And So in the one that I got, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute. In the one that I got, I saw that too, and I haven't filled up the spot yet, but I do plan on doing it. So his second unit is an AMD 47U 15 watt 4.2 gigahertz 6-core 6-thread measured to run at under 10 watts total draw from the wall. The other one was 20 watts at the wall.
Yeah, so quite a bit of difference.
Yeah, really. I mean, but under 20-something watts is... That's
still really low, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Both B-Links are faster than the $1,000 Intel i5 full tower I built in 2020. It was an 8th gen i5 65-watt chip. He uses that now as a NAS. The new generation B-Links have better motherboards, display ports, USB 3.2s, etc. DDR5 is a bit slower than DDR4 for desktop use if not doing any video editing. The second tier with AMD Ryzen 7 should be on sale at about $350. Don't go cheaper. I love your shows. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah.
He also had a bit of a footnote about the first PC he built in 1986.
Nice.
It was a 4.7/8 megahertz?
Yep. They had the little buttons, like turbo buttons.
Oh, the turbo button. That's what that means. Oh, awesome. With a 10 or 20 megabyte hard disk. Wow. He was an admin for 30 different PCs in 1988.
Well, that's cool.
Windows 1.0. Software Carousel was better task switching software. Was that a software?
Yeah, I think it sat on top, right? It was like a TSR type, DOS type of thing.
Oh, whoa, that's cool. So no idea how many PCs I've built, but now B-Link is better and sips power. Wow.
Yeah, compared to that stuff, I'm almost certain that it uses way less power than any of those things ever did.
Yeah, I'll have to bust out the kilowatt. So I ended up buying the B-Link S12. So this is so. At the time that I decided to purchase, I was considering getting like a Pi 4, maybe a Pi 5 or something like that. And even that Aradza, whatever that was, the Intel version of the Pi had the GPIO pins and everything.
Yep.
Was similar in price, but it turns out once I fully decked them out, right, bought cases and power supplies and heat sinks and all that kind of stuff, it was going to be about $150. So for $159, I could get a fully kitted B-Link with an Intel and blah, power supply, everything. Like all the belt is all with a 5. See, here's the thing. With a 512 gig NVMe SSD.
Okay.
Space for, as Scott mentioned, space for a SATA drive upgrade.
Right.
Like with the NVMe. So like next to the NVMe.
Right.
And 16 gigs of RAM, which is, I think that maxes out the N100. I don't think you can go any bigger than that on the N100. But like the Pis, they don't even go up to 16 gigs. I think they will. I think there were whispers that the Pi 5 might have a 16 gig option one day, but that day is not today.
Yeah, we haven't had it yet. Yep.
Right. And I don't even know if the Aradza ones had a 16 gig option. Maybe they did. They probably did.
I think they did.
But it would have blown the budget. It would have blown that $150 budget.
Oh, yeah, you'd have been over that.
So, man. So now I gotta figure out what I want to do with it. And so I need to shuffle some stuff around. But the thing that really, besides cost, the thing that really got me on the on this B-Link N100 Intel Celeron blah, blah, blah thing was that it was x86.
Yeah.
And so I was not restricted in any way to, do they have an ARM build?
Oh, I know. And like, there was a lot of promise in that. People were porting stuff to ARM, and they were making builds for things.
Oh, yeah.
But and they still are for a lot of stuff. But I feel like it's sort of stagnated, and it's like not complete. So it can be frustrating. Right. It can be frustrating when you're trying to get a piece of software running, and it doesn't have an ARM build, at least compatible ARM build. Yeah.
I had a bit of a scare with that. I mean, sort of like the Linux Server IO group dropped support for ARMHF, the older ARM chips, with SyncThing. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, now I have to dedicate a newer Pi to that job. But it turns out SyncThing has their own container that I didn't know about from the very beginning because they were lower in the search results when I was looking.
Yeah.
And I trust Linux Server IO. I mean, they've been great.
Yeah, their stuff's good.
For years and years. So anyway, but so I was able to still keep my Pi 2 doing the sync thing. But yeah, man. So it's like, well, one day they might drop support. One day ARM builds may not be as high up on the hierarchy and just get dropped. So I don't know. Just thinking about it more, I figured having an x86 option was just a nice hedge my bets.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And it didn't cost me anymore, so it was nice. Anyway, so Scott, I appreciate the email. I am looking at that 5800H that you were talking about. That one is one on my radar, so very possible I end up with one of those before this season's over. And at 20 watts at the wall,
that's nothing. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. So looking at that, appreciate the email. Thanks a lot. Send another one, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Ben's up next. He says, hi, guys. Finished your last episode yesterday. And by the way, some of these emails are a little old because we didn't cover them because we were on break for 3 months, right? So
we did that, yeah.
So sorry, Ben, but now we get to it. He said, with the talk of self-hosting and taking a break, I thought Leo might like to have a peek at the self-hostable Read It Later app. I've been using Wallabag until now. I'm going to be switching to ReadDeck. One feature I think would be really helpful for Leo is the automatic creation of notes by highlighting parts of an article. Great when researching a topic. I was doing literally this before the show.
Yeah, like manually.
I need this. So this is like Pocket, right? Like kind of like save it for later kind of style.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm down. I need this. So
it's like Pocket, but it's like self-hosted, and you control it, not sitting in Mozilla Cloud.
So we did just find a use for this new little B-Link machine that I got. I think this is probably going to be the first thing besides Image. I think Image is another thing that I want to play with. So Image and this ReadDeck are probably going to be the first couple of projects I throw onto this B-Link machine. And it looks super duper easy. There's no way it could just be this easy. So
I'm going to let you know because I think I'm going to actually spin this up. I've got a server that has Docker on it already, so.
We're going to need to find a way
throw the compose up there and make it happen.
Yeah, we're going to need to find a way to do this like collaboratively. Like we'll
have to test that.
Maybe.
That's interesting.
Maybe.
That's a good thought. We could do that.
And I wonder if there's like a public view of this. It's just like the things that we're reading or something.
Okay. Now you got me intrigued.
I know. No, and now I'm on wish list things again. But that maybe
work.
One day.
That could work. Like when we're gathering info for shows, we can do that collaboratively.
Right. I mean, yeah, Headstock is cool, but it just gives you links. But like this would be like the highlighting stuff and having the stuff that we want to talk about specifically, written out without having to manually do it all. It's kind of nice. So anyway,
agree.
Ben seriously thinks this is great because it looks super duper easy, right? You create a directory, you go inside of it, you download the binary, you make it executable, and then you run it.
I'm sure I'll make it harder somehow, but that's fine.
Right, I'm sure there's a way, and Docker is that way, but may not even have to. So we'll see. I like the containerization idea of it all.
I like it too.
And they do have the Docker container stuffs, so it may very well just be the way that we go. But anyway, looks real easy. I'm sold. So I'm going to play with it at least. All right. So Bruce is up next. He says, hey, Dan and Leo, first thing, great season. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I really hope to hear and see you guys back for season 5.
We're here.
Ta-da! In the future. Not in the future. In the today.
Yeah, right now.
I've tried a ton of Linux podcasts, a lot of the ones that you've both recommended on the show, and the only one that really sticks is us. Awesome.
Us. All right.
In the season finale, you opened with Browser Watch and gave a lot of details about the upcoming features for the new Firefox release and asked why isn't Firefox your go-to browser? We ask that all the time, and I'm asking it again right now.
We're still asking.
If you don't use Firefox, why not? You have a lot of ammo lately.
Yeah, I know.
We'll We'll do a browser watch. We'll cover some of this stuff, but you got a lot of ammo now, so let me
hear
hear
it. A lot of them, so it's okay.
Yeah. So here's Bruce's feedback. He says, Firefox is great. I love the security, privacy, and open source nature of it, but it's just missing a few key things to keep it around as my daily driver. It's all about the sidebar and tab management. For a while now, Opera has what I feel is the best sidebar for a browser available. I have access to my socials, access to Spotify, and I can pin websites to my sidebar. I've tried Vivaldi and really wanted to give it a run since it has the kitchen sink and better privacy, but the UI UX just wasn't as appealing as the things I thought I'd like to use in the sidebar. Turns out, I didn't. When it comes to tab management, I really think Opera shines here too. Not only do you get access to dedicated workspaces in your sidebar, but you now have what they call tab islands. The workspace feature is a must for my workflow and brain now. I can keep all my basic browsing in my home space, have games and gaming news in gaming space, and keep work and school in that space. That said, Firefox is still down to number 3 on my browser ballot. Chrome comes in second. The only thing I use Chrome for is PWAs. I'm currently using Gnome with a bunch of extensions, including Arc Menu, and Chrome just handles PWA integration so much better than Firefox. Thanks for all the efforts and the great content you both put out. I'm a huge fan. Well, thanks again. I don't think either of us have really dove into Opera.
Not too much. Other cursory glances here and there.
Yeah.
It is very, I mean, obviously Vivaldi, like sort of spawned from Opera. So there's some similarities there, right? And I see some things that get backported, if you will. I guess sideported. I don't even know how that works, but I see some things from Vivaldi.
They're separate projects. I think they are
separate
now.
projects, but I see things that go from one to the other and back and forth a little bit. Obviously both Chromium based, so you're going to get the compatibility things out of the way. I guess is a thing if that's an issue for you. So I could see I could see how you could like it, and I totally could probably get on with it myself if I hadn't already adopted Vivaldi. Probably similar thing, only in reverse here. I'm used to the UI UX of Vivaldi, so switching to Opera now would be a little foreign to me. And I think it's all of which one you adopted first, probably.
Yeah. Okay, so there's just some, at least for Bruce, there's some things missing out of Firefox that keeps him on Opera.
Well,
and
that's
I totally get
fair. I do use Firefox primarily, but yeah, you're not wrong. There are some things that just don't exist.
Yeah, and I think my thing is that I've just found workarounds for those types of things, right? Yep. Like multi-account containers does a pretty good job.
That's super nice.
The tab islandy thing, but we were talking about it not too long ago, where I would like to see a tab island kind of thing in Firefox. Just just better tab management.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love, I rave about all the time, is the stacking and all of that stuff.
In Vivaldi,
in Vivaldi, that's pretty great.
Yeah, I would love to see that stuff too. It looks like Chrome is getting the tab island things, the bit of that tab management stuff. So yeah, I would definitely love to see Firefox have some of that.
I know Edge has the workspace thing. And so
I think is the workspace thing just like the profile thing? That's not the same thing.
No, there's profiles too. It's kind of similar, but they're not quite the same.
Oh, okay. So it's more tab management is
essentially, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to play around with that one because I don't know exactly what I would like in Firefox. I guess that's kind of my problem, is that I don't know exactly what I would like to see with it because I'm just fine mostly working with what I've got. But yeah, tab islands. I would love to see that. That would be awesome. Anyway, Rob Simmons, Simmons emailed us, Leo and Dan. I only recently found your show, as in 4 days ago. And
nice, good timing.
A while ago.
That's
so
okay.
It's been a little longer now, Rob. Appreciate you. I found the history segments to be extremely interesting. Thank you for doing those. I was surprised but happy to hear Dan is part of the Lubuntu project. 2 weekends ago, I was given an old unsupported Chromebook, and I went down the path to get a GNU Linux distro installed on it. After hours of challenges, I was finally able to reflash the BIOS and install Lubuntu 2404 LTS.
Nice, good choice.
Lubuntu runs great on this very old, underpowered Chromebook. I really only need the Chromebook to have working Wi-Fi, Firefox, and LibreOffice. Now, thanks to Lubuntu, it meets all my requirements.
Nice.
I just wanted to extend my sincere thanks for both the excellent podcast as well as the work with Lubuntu. Would you gents consider putting your videos on Rumble as well? I try to watch all my videos on that site and would very much like to see your videos there. Rumble is in desperate need of GNU Linux-focused content. There is some, and it's pretty good, but it would be nice to have additional quality content such as yours. Keep up the excellent work, Robb. And yes, he's really a Simmons.
Nice. I actually have a cousin, Robb, but it's not this one.
And this Robb does prefer email as well. Something about the old stuff, man. It just works.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I mean, I guess it works.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the email client I use, there's not a whole lot of formatting, but it's kind of nice, right? I mean, you get to kind of control what that's about. Anyway, so on the Rumble thing, I don't know that we'll move to Rumble because we've already added. We've got a lot of things, but
we
have
a lot of things. Yeesh.
What we've been thinking.
We have been thinking.
Yeah, is do the actual Tilvids thing. So.
Well, yeah, we do our own. Well, we'll do Tilvids for now.
So there's a Tilvids pipeline,
right.
And that is basically start on Tilvids until you get your own PeerTube instance up, and then tie in with Tilvids once that happens, right? And then you have this cool little ecosystem of video content, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a federated thing, so you can federate those two together, and so you can still have the same tie-in, same subscribers, all of that stuff could still be the same, but they could watch your content on your instance kind of thing.
Exactly. So would that mean, so if we tied in with Tilvids, if we had our own instance, right, and we tied in with Tilvids, does that mean that we could also tie in with the larger PeerTube-verse as well? Can you swing both ways like that?
But you can do that now, I think. I think Tilvids does push stuff out of it. And so, like, if you're on another instance, I do believe you can subscribe that way. Although I don't know.
Interesting. You're right. Because I know we've got a lot of followers from Mastodon. Like, they follow our PeerTube Tilvids channel from Mastodon.
Yeah,
so I know that it does work that way.
Yeah.
But I know that there are like PeerTube instances that just like vacuum up stuff and like directly link to stuff. Like you'll never see something posted on a different PeerTube instance that's not directly tied to Tilvids on Tilvids.
Right. Yeah, they don't subscribe to others. It doesn't go that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But if we were,
I don't know.
That's
we'll
just
figure
something
that
we'll
out.
have to figure
But
out. Yeah. So okay. So we're in the thinking process of this. So, no guarantees one way or the other, but I think that just sounds cool.
And I think so too. And there's some other features there that we could probably utilize. Like right now we're streaming out to Twitch. And so we're exploring, maybe streaming to a couple of platforms potentially.
Right. Yeah, because we were talking about Twitch and YouTube, but then what if we did Twitch and YouTube and a PeerTube instance?
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah. And then I forget who it was. Was it Martin Wimpress? Is he working on this thing called Cabbage? Whatever. I don't know what it was called.
Stream Sprout, which is very close.
Stream Sprout.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cabbage Sprout. Same thing.
Yeah, I think like Brussels sprouts, but yeah.
Right. That lets you do the Restream IO thing, but like
Free.
Using your own bandwidth. So you got to have a bandwidth for it, but you could do it
have
yourself.
A server in the cloud. Same thing.
True, but they charge by the terabyte, and I don't know.
I guess if we'd go over or not, but I mean,
it's usually a monthly thing, so probably not. As long as maybe I don't know.
We'd have to do some experimentation there as well.
Exactly. So there's a lot of bells and whistles and things that I'd like to try out. But
we got some things going on up here, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, Robb, thanks for writing in. I hope we can connect somehow, some way.
And thanks for the shout out to Lubuntu. That's pretty great. I'm glad you were able to turn that Chromebook into something useful. That's pretty fantastic. I love reading stories like that. That's great.
All right, couple left. Couple of quick ones. Daily Driver emailed us and said, "Hi, Lus. I'd like to see a history video of 2 hidden gem distros, Crunchbang Plus Plus and Bunsen Labs, both spawned out of the discontinuation of Crunchbang Linux. 3 useful sources for the video that he listed and we'll have in the show notes. Crunchbang Plus Plus and Bunsen Labs are a big deal within the open box sphere, but it all started with Philip Newborough's Crunchbang. All the best."
Yeah, that's cool. I know we talked about that one a few times, and I know it's on Leo's short list, so it might very well happen.
Yeah, Daily Driver, I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but I can say it will happen. I don't know if we're going to go Crunchbang Plus Plus or Bunsen Labs, or if we kind of roll it up into one big old history and just kind of do the 2 offshoots or whatever, but it is definitely on the list. So, keep listening. We'll get to it. And finally, Jay emailed us and said, "Would love to see your notes, guides, and configurations for setting up WireGuard and your use cases and how I can do the same." Dan mentioned this blog thing.
Yeah, that seems like a great place to put something like that.
It's just another notch in the you need to do it list of things we need to do. So, yes.
I think so. This would be a great thing to post up there. I actually, I mean, I still have WireGuard for a couple of things, but for the most part, I've actually graduated. And I've kind of moved on to a thing that might make you cringe, although there's ways to self-host the thing I'm doing. I moved on to Tailscale. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so Tailscale, which I'm authenticating with Google, and that might make you might be the part that makes you cringe. Yeah, and that's fair. I get it.
Identity management is not done by Tailscale, which means you have to use some other identity provider like GitHub or Google or something else. And I mean, I use GitHub, but I don't like it. But the thing I do like is that I use the passkey to get into GitHub, which then gets me to Tailscale, but then Microsoft. So, who's worse, Google or Microsoft?
Fair point. So WireGuard, so you're right. WireGuard eliminates all of that because Tailscale is, got all the fancy, brokering done for you, but it's still WireGuard underneath. So you're still using the same technology, which is great. And so having just straight up WireGuard, that can still work. And it's a pretty great thing. You can have it be basically an exit node onto your network if you wanted, or directly to the thing. I mean, that's fine too. So there's a couple different ways to do that. And so usually when I use WireGuard, though, it's mostly just a point-to-point thing. And that I'm just directly connecting to whatever.
Yeah, I think I mean, not doing anything crazy, but like having one of those like free instances, like a Google free, what do you call the cloud instance? And Oracle's got some too if you can stomach being at Oracle. But I mean, there's also Google. So I mean, and then setting up WireGuard over there and letting that be your VPN little hop point.
You could. You totally could.
You could totally do that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's just a lot of fun stuff that you can do with WireGuard. You could do it with Tailscale too, but I think for me, like having the WireGuard VPN was just fun to get into the networking nitty-gritty of how that actually worked, and WireGuard was much faster than OpenVPN, so that was just a huge plus.
Oh yeah, huge.
And it worked on my phone. You can make it work on any device, but the fact that it would you just little toggle on the phone was just nice to have.
Yeah, it's totally totally cross-platform. So doesn't matter. Windows, Mac, Linux,
I had it on every platform. I was using it on every platform except Android because I don't have any Android anything right now. But yeah, and it worked on everything, so it's fantastic. So Jay, yes, the answer is yes. We're gonna get some of that stuff out there. I think we just got to find the time, as with everything. And like I know we want to get that blog up. Dan's going to put the do's and don'ts of bug reporting and all that kind of good stuff out there. I want to follow that up with the WireGuard stuff. So, yeah, we're definitely going to be our little old hub.
I think we're going to try it for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's going to be cool. Anyway, thank you everybody for writing in emails, all that kind of stuff. Keep doing that. I love email. And it's the biggest way to get on. Have us read your stuff, get onto the show. We'll talk about it for a little bit. Comments sometimes make it, but emails usually always make it. So if you want us to talk about it, send us an email.
That brings us to next time. So next time is going to be the history of the Cinnamon desktop environment.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, Leo and I have been trying that out since, well, before the break even. And, well, Leo, way before that. So
yeah, I've been using it for years.
So that'll be easy for him. And so we're going to talk about the history of it and give some thoughts about it. In between shows, you can catch us on Twitter, Mastodon, Telegram, Matrix, Discord, Blue Sky, whatever. You give us your suggestions over there on our subreddit or even in the forum over on Lemmy. That's a great place too. And, talk to us and give us some ideas. Send us the emails, all that good stuff. All the links and show notes can be found on linuxuserspace.show. So, Leo, where can we find you on the interwebs?
Oh, you can always find me at Leo Chavez at mastodon.social. I got a companion account over on the Blue Sky, and those places are good places.
Yeah, and I'm at Casey2BZ on the mastodon.social as well. And I'm different over on Blue Sky, I believe. On my alternate ego, I'm Monetary Abyss.
Okay, the other one.
And so, the Money Pit over on the Blue Sky.
That's it.
Anyway, come back in a couple of weeks and join us for more Linux User Space. See y'all.
We'll see you later. Oh, no, dude. I turned you off. What?
Kill all Orca.
Accessibility frame. Look, enable screen reader is off. Is it because
maybe accessibility is broken because it just won't go away?
Accessibility frame.
That's
screen reader configuration.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe kill all Orca.
I don't know if that's what you got running, but
also, just as a follow-up, I've been spelling console with a K since I was in like 4th grade. So I mean, that's the proper way to do it. I don't know where you blokes came up with the C. It's not, I mean, it's easier, right? Maybe you blokes are lazy, but it's always been spelt with a K. It's the way it should be. And I reckon, Georgie boy over there at Universal, maybe have a look at, making sure that console, is able to be grabbed by the menu. I reckon that's a winner. Texas.